Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a closer look at the Birkenau Memorial.
That's right.
We're using a recent walkthrough video recorded February 9th, 2025, so just after International Holocaust Memorial Day.
And what's interesting is it catches the site, in its more everyday state. The big ceremonies are over, things are being taken down.
Exactly. So our mission here is to get a real sense of the place, its history, maybe beyond the sort of standard facts you often hear.
Yeah, trying to connect with the tangible reality of it. Seeing it like this after the events gives a slightly different perspective, doesn't it?
It really does. So, okay, the video starts as you approach the entrance, but it's not the famous main gate, the one with the tracks going through.
No, that's the first thing you notice.
It's a temporary side entrance they're using. Apparently, they were dismantling the big tent set up for the Memorial Day.
Right, which is, well, it's an interesting detail straight away. You're immediately confronted with the fact that this is a site that exists now with ongoing maintenance and logistics, even as you're about to confront the past.
Yeah, that juxtaposition is quite stark.
Definitely.
So moving on to the grounds, one of the first things the narrator points out, and it's visually overwhelming, is just the absence. Most of the barracks are gone.
Yeah, it's mostly empty space dotted with these rows and rows of brick chimneys.
The video calls them silent witnesses, which feels very apt.
Incredibly apt. Those chimneys are so potent. The wooden barracks are gone, dismantled after the war, perhaps, partly to erase the sheer scale, but the chimneys remain. They mark where people lived, however briefly, however brutally.
It's almost like ghosts standing there.
It is. Memorialization through absence. In a way, it's powerful.
The video then takes us past one of the few barracks that are still standing, Barrack 22. And this one has a particularly grim story attached.
The video explains its specific function.
Yeah, that SS officers and nurses used it to murder infants and their mothers with phenol injections. It's just hearing that specific detail tied to that building.
It's chilling. It really brings a horrifying specificity to the vastness of the suffering.
Yeah.
While other barracks were for sleeping, just inhumane overcrowding, Barrack 22 was for this targeted, incredibly cruel killing.
Phenol injections, just brutal.
Direct, agonizing. It really underscores the systematic nature of the cruelty.
We also see the remains of the toilet facilities.
Right. The concrete trough.
Yes, with bits of iron fence still there that used to divide them up. It's such a stark visual of the complete lack of dignity, the dehumanization.
Absolutely. No privacy, constant exposure. These weren't designed for basic human needs in any decent way. They were tools of control, of degradation, reinforcing that prisoners were seen as less than human.
Then the camera pans around, you see the guard towers.
Looming over everything.
Yeah, everywhere. A constant reminder of the surveillance, the impossibility of escape.
They really represent that total control. No corner unobserved, no moment of privacy or unmonitored humanity. The threat was just always there.
Okay. Then the walkthrough moves towards the railway lines, the infamous tracks.
The rival point for so many.
And the focus is on a cattle car, standing there now as a memorial. What really hits home is the inscription on it. The video highlights it. It specifically commemorates the Hungarian Jews.
Over 400,000.
Yes, women, children, men, deported in about 100 transports just in the spring and summer of 1944.
Such a compressed time frame.
And the inscription is blunt. It says they were immediately murdered upon arrival by the murderous Nazi Germans. No mincing words.
That car is incredibly powerful. It just embodies the industrial scale of it all, those numbers, that speed. It highlights the chilling efficiency. And the directness of the language, naming victims and perpetrators, it's vital.
Then the video shows a corridor between camp sections, and the narrator says this path led directly to crematoria IV and V.
The direct route.
It just reinforces that term you sometimes hear, a death factory. It feels horrifyingly accurate when you see that direct link.
It really wasn't hyperbole. Birkenau was designed for mass extermination on an industrial scale.
The video also notes how few doors and windows there were relative to the sheer number of people crammed inside buildings.
Again, showing the complete disregard for human life. Not detention, just processing for death. Meticulously engineered for killing.
We then see the ruins of a crematorium, blown up at the end of the war, apparently.
Yes, you can see the remains. There's another one on the opposite side, too, also destroyed.
The video specifically mentions Crematorium III, where countless people were cremated after being murdered.
The fact they tried to destroy them speaks volumes, doesn't it? Their awareness of their crimes, the attempt to hide the evidence.
But the ruins are still there, undeniable.
Exactly. And their placement? Right at the far end of the camp? Probably strategic, trying to keep the worst of it slightly hidden?
The walkthrough ends or culminates at the International Monument.
Right, the central memorial point.
Lots of inscriptions, different languages. The video shares the English one.
What does it say?
Forever let this place be a cry of despair and a warning to humanity, where the Nazis murdered about 1.5 million men, women, and children, mainly Jews from various countries of Europe.
A cry of despair and a warning. That sums it up. Powerful words.
It also mentions a Hebrew inscription and the El Malol Rachamim prayer being recited sometimes.
Ah, yes. The traditional Jewish memorial prayer. It connects this specific tragedy to that long history of Jewish mourning and remembrance. Very important.
The video does also briefly show other memorials for Polish prisoners, Roma.
Gypsies, yeah, and Soviet POWs.
Right. It's important to remember it wasn't only Jews, although they were the vast majority targeted for extermination here.
Absolutely crucial. Acknowledging the full scope of the victims.
We also see these round concrete things. Turns out they were old sewage disposal areas.
Just another grim detail of the infrastructure.
And the narrator mentions how cold it was. Around freezing, the ground frozen solid. Just adds another layer, thinking about the prisoners enduring that.
Definitely. The physical hardship on top of everything else. Brutal.
Okay, and one last area shown is Canada.
Ah, yes. The storage area.
Where they sorted all the belongings taken from the people who were murdered, exploitation right to the very end.
Utterly dehumanizing. The final stage of the process. Even personal possessions were part of the system.
The buildings are apparently inaccessible now, undergoing restoration, but they mention a photo from 1944 showing how busy it was, a real hub of activity.
That contrast between the photo and the quiet now.
Yeah.
It's unsettling. Preserving that area is vital, though. Tangible evidence of the theft, the loss.
So reflecting on this walkthrough, what really stands out is, well, first, the sheer scale, even with so much gone.
It's vast. Hard to take in.
And the remnants, the chimneys, the ruins of the crematoria, that one barrack, they paint such a visceral picture.
They really do. Fragments that speak volumes.
And those memorials, especially the International Monument, with that stark message, it underscores the unimaginable scale of the tragedy.
Those numbers. 1.5 million murdered here. Over 400,000 Hungarian Jews in just months. It's almost impossible to comprehend standing there in the quiet.
Yeah, that disconnect is profound. The quiet now versus the horror then. It really leaves you thinking about that silence. How do we even begin to reconcile that stillness today with the suffering that happened? And like the monument says, how do we ensure this place remains a warning?
It's a heavy responsibility.
Maybe grappling with that contrast, the silence versus the echoes of the past. Maybe that's where we start thinking about what that silence means and what we need to remember within it.
That feels like a good place to leave it. A crucial thought to carry forward.